Yeah, so I spoke to four of my friends who are into software engineering, and they shared with me some points on how they became better software engineers and how they grew their careers. I was motivated to create this video because of a comment on my last video which I posted, which said, how do I become a better software engineer? So yeah, let's get right into it. Before I dive into what my friends shared, I want to give you a bit of my own opinion on the topic of becoming or getting good at software engineering. This topic is broad and it includes a lot. Different things work for different people, and I understand that my experiences and methods might not work for another person. That is the reason why I spoke to a couple of friends to get their views on this. But with this said, there are some general habits that help you to become good at software engineering and moving forward in your career. So, from my personal journey, I can share with you the following tips which I found useful and still find useful. So, yes, the first one is understand the basics of computer science. So, things like what is a computer and how does it work? What are data structures? Which data structures fit which particular problems? So understand the fundamentals of programming languages and how they operate. So if you work with a particular programming language, say JavaScript or Java, aim to understand how it works at a very basic level. So the goal is to go deep enough to grasp the core concepts of computer science. That way you appreciate everything built on top of these fundamentals, be it framework or tools. I watched a video where a very popular engineer said he always asks this question during interviews. If I click on a button on a web page, what happens? If you were asked this question at an interview, how would you do? What happens from the point where you clicked the button to the point where you got a response? There are different layers to this question, ranging from what happens on the front end when you click the button, how a JavaScript function behind the button gets activated after you click the button, how the browser is able to understand that particular function to an API request being made to the back end, how the data is fetched from the back end, and how you get the data back to the front end. Even things like the network protocol. How does the network protocol work when you make the request and how you get a response? Even going into details as to how the JavaScript language works with the browser and how that interacts with the hardware of the computer. You realize that I mentioned a lot of concepts in just this simple question on what happens when you click a button. So that is, for example, what your interviewer would be expecting. So if you are able to answer this question into the very basics of how these things work, you have a high chance of impressing the interviewer. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm saying when I say understand the basics of how things work. So this is just a typical example, and this is one way I think you become good at software engineering. The second point is get a mentor. Yeah, get a mentor. So there are people who have been in the software engineering field for a long time, some 20 years, some 15 years, and so on. So these folks have a ton of knowledge and how to navigate the field. So basically having someone you can bounce off ideas and ask for guidance can save you a lot of time. So get a mentor. In another video, I'll talk about how to get one, because some people go wrong about it. They do it in the wrong way. So find someone who is currently at the level you aim to reach and let them teach you how they got there. I've had mentors in my journey, and trust me, I've learned a lot from them. People say experience is the best teacher, which is true in some cases, but I say learning from the experience of others is the best, because this is going to save you a lot of time. They're going to teach you which careers to take, which programming languages to learn, the kind of path you should follow to get to where they currently are, and this is going to save you a lot of time. When you try to figure it out all by yourself, you might get stuck, waste about 4 or 5 years in a particular area where you don't really enjoy and understand, and this would just make you miserable and frustrated. So getting a mentor is one of the things that you should do if you want to become a better software engineer. Now to my third point, ask questions, be curious, and don't be quiet. So I used to struggle with staying quiet and it held me back. I was a quiet person and that wasn't really a good thing. So don't be silent, ask questions and contribute, even if you feel like you are not there yet. What's the worst that could happen? You get corrected and you learn something new. So be curious, try to understand how things work, especially when you're working on a team or on a project. Ask questions like, why are we doing this? Is there a better way, or is there a better approach to do this? How does this work? How does this impact what we are doing? And does this solution scale? So just be curious and ask a lot. Doing this would help you grow. I know I'm talking a lot now, but let me wrap up with my final point on just one last point. So don't tie yourself, and the point is, don't tie yourself to one role, language, or technology. Aim to use the best tool. Yes, you might shine at front-end development, but don't limit yourself to that forever. Explore other areas, try back-end development, try data engineering, try AI, and more. So you can go deep in one area, but go broad too. I think I'll have to make a video on going deep versus going broad. Yeah, so stick to this channel and I'll talk about that soon. So what I'm essentially trying to say is, don't stick to one language just because you think it's the best. Try others. When new trends come up, like AI or Web3 or something else, just try to take a look and learn what's new. This way you have knowledge across different areas and become a more complete software engineer. Now, to my friend's point, these guys have been in the game for over 5 years and have tried different things. They know what works and what doesn't work. So I wanted to get opinions from different sides, different people, because my experiences might be different from the experiences of others, and it is worth also learning from others. So this is the main reason why I'm making this video. So this is it. I'm going to read exactly what we talked about, exactly what they sent me. So yeah, this is the advice for my friends on becoming a better software engineer, and I hope you enjoy it. So the first friend is Peter, and I'm going to quote his exact words. He said, I realized that as a fresh graduate with no professional work experience, employers wouldn't take me seriously. So I committed to working on side projects and freelance gigs to put my skills into practice. I focused on building a strong portfolio, not just with basic projects, but with ones that use real-world technologies relevant to the industry. Understand that to keep up with the ever-evolving tech landscape, I needed to develop the habit of continuous learning, and just as importantly, the willingness to unlearn outdated practices. They say your network is your net worth, and I've found that to be true. Many times, the gap isn't in our talent, but in access to the right information and opportunities. Networking only opens doors, but when you are good with what you do, it amplifies your visibility and value. So you guys saw it. He focused on networking, he focused on building projects, he focused on the willingness to unlearn outdated practices and all of that. You saw it in the text. So I hope you got a lot from that. So that's the experience from Peter. So let me just move on to the next friend, which is Ebuka, who says, always trying to understand the reason why, the underlying technology, and how it all ties together. Secondly, never internalizing my code, the favorite frameworks, and other technologies. These are all tools, or they are all tools, and their philosophies could be collected into a unique solution. So this is back to my first point. Understand the reason why. So understanding the basics and understanding how things work. And he says, never internalizing my code, the favorite frameworks, and other technologies, which goes back to my point of not tying yourself to a particular programming language or framework. So this is from Ebuka. And I'm moving on to the third person, Terra. This is quite a lot, and he says his first point is to use documentations. So refer to documentations again when starting new projects with tools you know well already, even if it's just a glance. So go back to documentation even if you know how to use that tool. This keeps you up to date on any major or breaking changes that has occurred, making your development less error prone and less stressful. So the second point is plan for projects. Put something down before you start to code. Could be a few rough sketches of the structure and the flow of the project. You could do UML diagrams and code, but just a pen and paper sketch of the project plan, stack, and logic will go a long way. When you start to code, you know what you are doing without having to think much on the spot. And the third point is be open-minded when working on team projects. Our journeys as developers vary for each person. When working on team projects, you might realize one or two different ways that some of your devs do their work. could be tools for handling Git better, code editor plugins, and tools, right? So you just have to understand how other devs works. And to his last point, he's saying when you see anything like that which is making their work more efficient, be willing to learn from it and add to your personal arsenals, making you a better programmer. So if you're working in a team or a project and you see that someone is doing something better, don't stick to what you already know because you feel that it works for you and that gets the work going. If they are doing it in a better way, you can just basically learn from them and add it to your tools or add it to your personal arsenals, making you a better programmer. So that's what Tara is saying. So to the last point, Dennis says continuous learning and improvement. This field requires continuous learning. Technology changes frequently, so it's important to keep yourself up to date with the latest developments, or at least be aware of them. And to his second point, networking events and conferences. I think Peter said the same thing. I can't overstate the importance of this one. Attend events, tech meetups, and conferences as much as you can. You never know where the next opportunity might come from. It could be that small tech meetup you attended or decided to join. Also attend these conferences with the intention of offering some value, no matter small. I'll read that again. Also attend these conferences with the intention of offering some value, no matter how small. That is the real way to network. So if you go to these meetups and conferences and whatnot, go there with the intention of giving some value to whoever you meet or whoever you talk to. Just show some value, because this could go a long way. They might call you some other time to offer you some opportunity or talk about something that they find interesting. So yeah, that's it. There are a few additional things I could mention, like learning touch typing, which I'm currently working on, learning how to collaborate with others, including non-technical people, paying close attention to details, and reading quality programming books. Those are all things that I wanted to mention, but we don't have enough time. Also, having a hobby outside of coding really helps. Have a hobby outside of coding. It could be something like drawing, photography, or even picking up a sport like tennis or swimming. You get a gist of it. So just get something to do outside coding. You shouldn't always be coding because you need some time to rest your mind. So yes, this video is getting long. I hope you found this helpful. I realize that not everyone who watches my video subscribes, so I'm going to urge you to kindly hit the subscribe button. Also leave a comment for me in the comment section, and I promise to reply all your comments, or do well to reply all your comments. Like this video, share it to your friends, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.